Chapter 73. I woke up the next morning with my head thicker than a brick wall. I moaned in sickly pain, thrusting the palm of my hand onto my forehead. Never drinking again. Marcos stirred and pulled me close against him, wrapping his thighs through mine. I glanced at the clock. 7:55 a.m. Shit, I've got to get Henry ready, I muttered, kissing his sleepy lips softly. He reluctantly let me go, and I stumbled out of bed, searching for my sweatpants. I glanced at myself in the mirror. God, you look like hell. Who goes to bed with makeup on? Bonnie did. I staggered up the garden path and snuck inside the side door. Looks like I wasn't the only one who woke up on the heavy side of the bed. Morning, Miss Bonnie, Lydia smiled, looking at my racked face. Oh, Bonnie, do I have to go to school? Henry whined, barely able to hold his head up as Lydia rubbed his shoulders. I'm wrecked. Yes, you do, I said, wiping under my eyes, feeling his struggle. Come on. I helped him up and grabbed his bag. Starbucks. Let's go. I can't believe I got Henry to school on time, but I did. Feeling like death warmed up, I drove back home as quickly as I could to lay my aching head back on the pillow. I was really struggling. Crawling up the drive at 9 a.m., I walked into my quarters and glimpsed Marcos, still lying in bed. He turned over and glanced at me. There's my sunshine, he smiled, holding out his arm. Hardly sunshine this morning, I said, grabbing a face wipe and snuggled under the blankets, laying my head on his chest. I'm so tired. My lady, he said quietly, I have to go away today. No, I gasped, looking up at his face pleadingly. No, why? My heart sank, and I immediately felt 1,000 times worse. I have to go to Alaska. His dark eyes stared at my agonized face. Oh, Alaska! I ran my fingers over his chest. What's in Alaska? I stammered. Business. We're in negotiations of building a train line between China, Russia, and the far western point of Alaska. Russia signed the contract, but China is proving difficult. A train line? You mean across the ocean? Yes. Marcos smiled, stroking my face. Something like that. My finger ran up the side of his neck. When will you be back? Saturday. It was Wednesday. So I suppose I could deal with that if I had to. It could have been worse. Could have been longer. So I'm stuck with April, I sighed, closing my eyes. Sorry, he chuckled quietly, squeezing my shoulder. Why don't you go shopping in LA on Saturday? Use my card. That will cheer you up. Actually, I gotta go to LA on Saturday anyway. Oh? Birthday party for the kid of my old employer, in the Palisades. Marcos nodded. Okay. Silence fell between us as Marcos ran his fingers through my hair. My lady. Yes, I answered, almost falling asleep on his breathing chest, listening to his heartbeat. Let's eat breakfast together. Chapter 74. I sat at that breakfast table, feeling even worse than I did earlier. I hated Marcos leaving me now. I hated him going away, period. I tried my best to put on my happy face for him and think about all the beautiful time we shared together in the last few days. But come on, let's be real here. Marcos was the master of body language. He could read me the way he read his morning newspaper. Biting into some toast, he glanced at me. My lady, he said, squeezing my hand as I sipped my tea. Come here. I went and curled up onto his lap, my body getting enveloped within his arms. You're troubled. I'm missing you already, I muttered, laying my head against his neck. I'll be home soon. He flashed me those dimples, pulling me closer to him. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Get it together, Bonnie, for fuck's sake. I know, baby. I forced a smile through my lips, feeling the glorious morning sun beam down on us. I'll pack your bag for you if you like. He held my jaw in his hand and kissed me long and softly. Lydia's already done it for me, he murmured, feeling his warm breath frolic over my lips. But thank you anyway. An hour later, Lydia and I stood out in the garden, sadly watching that chopper ascend from the property. I gazed at Marcos, looking sleek in a pinstriped suit, sitting in his usual seat, glancing down at us. My heart was hurting, and the lump in my throat was almost about to burst. The chopper veered right, and that handsome face that destroyed my world every day vanished. Lydia put her arm around my shoulders, comforting me. He'll be back before you know it, Miss Bunny. I know, I sighed painfully, walking myself back into the house with her. Love, it hurts, she told me. It make a woman crazy. Tell me about it, I muttered glumly. I don't know how April lives with it. Miss Bunny, Lydia answered, flapping her hand dismissively. Madame don't love him like you love him. She a different breed of woman. You have the Spanish blood in your veins. The hot blood you love differently. I hugged Lydia and dragged my sorry ass back to my quarters to have a long, hot shower. I then planned to go back to bed for as long as humanely possible until April arrived home. Chapter 75. The rest of the week passed me by in a dismal blur. I tried to get on with it. I tried to snap myself out of the bullshit mood I had dragged myself into. But I was sick, lovesick, well and truly. I couldn't help it. I loved Marcos Almeida. I fucking loved him. And I was fine when he was in the same town as me. But when he wasn't, I felt like something snuck over my shoulder and tore my heart from my chest every second of the day. And I hated it. Now I understood how someone could die of a broken heart. Love fucking hurts. Real bad. April was fine with me through the remaining part of the week. She relaxed as soon as she returned from Boise, letting me go about doing my job as I did anyway. But truly, it sucked with her being around. Even Lydia and Lola weren't as relaxed as before. The house became clouded in that dense energy again, and I had to constantly wear my pretend happy face. And you know what? She didn't even have that meeting with Terry she desperately needed to come back for, like it was going to save the world or something. Another lame-ass excuse. The truth is, the bitch was smart, and she had a sharp intuition. That's what's up. She was sniffing for something, but she couldn't work out what. Sitting around the dinner table Friday night, Dave presented us with a rack of Mongolian lamb, garnished with potato compote. I mean, it looked amazing. You see why I have to eat fruit 99% of the time? I wondered if Dave ever grew bored of appearing so happy in front of us. So, how was the week been for you, Bonnie? April smiled. Amazing, until you came home. Oh, the week's been fine, I said brightly, sipping on some Chardonnay. Busy? Moderately, I answered. Did Terry get the receipt for that invoice I paid? Oh, yes, he did, April nodded, slicing at some lamb and putting it on Henry's plate. The house in Kona is coming along lovely now. All our hard work is paying off. Hardly hard work, bitch. I glanced at Marcus's empty chair. It was wrenching. The absolute worst part of my day. "So are we still going to Granny's for spring break?" Henry asked. "Well, Poppy's got to go to New York," April said, dumping a load of potato onto her plate. "He has that big conference he must go to. But now Granny's not going to be home. She's going to Telluride. So if you still want to, we'll go straight to Hawaii." Henry's dull face finally lifted. "Yeah, I do," he smiled. "So glad I don't have to go to Boise, that's for sure." "Hey, come on now. That's not fair," April scolded. "Granny loves you spending time with her." I snickered under my breath. Who could blame the kid? Granny and April at one time would be too much for anyone. "So, what will you get up to for spring break, Bon?" April asked politely. I'm going to LA, I said, watching her shove that potato in her mouth like it was the Last Supper. "Oh, that sounds nice," she answered, looking less than interested. "At least look enthused if you're going to pretend you're interested in me, bitch." Actually, the truth was, I hadn't made up my mind if I was going to LA. I just told her that. I still had to wrap my head around the fact that I wouldn't be seeing Marcus for 2 weeks. 2 weeks! Just him being away for a few days was hard enough. "I'm actually going to LA tomorrow for an afternoon birthday party." "Oh, that sounds like fun," April said, giving me her signature fake smile. I just wanted to throw my lamb chop in her face. "Well, no doubt it will be," I said with slight sarcasm. "The lady I used to work for, her daughter is turning 6. There'll be kids everywhere." "Not my idea of fun, but enjoy nonetheless," April laughed. Chapter 76. Later that night, I ran a hot, oily bath, lighting all the candles, trying to lift my crappy mood. Watching the auburn flames flicker triggered a visual. Marcus arching my back over the tub, thrusting himself into me. I closed my eyes and sighed heavily. Less than 24 hours and he'll be home. Harden up, Bonnie. I wondered if he felt it also, this wretched feeling. I hadn't even heard from him the whole time he was up in Alaska, so I guess not. And naturally, I wasn't going to start bothering him now. God knows what he's doing up there. I crawled out of the tub and toweled myself off, slipping into a comfortable nightdress. As I sat at my vanity brushing my long hair, my gold iPhone suddenly vibrated. I quickly dropped my brush. Not a text, a phone call! My heart throbbed angrily through my body. I glanced at the odd number across the screen. "Hello? My lady!" I heard that sublime voice crackle at the other end. My heart flooded with happiness. "Oh, Marcos!" I gushed with relief. "What number is this?" The line was horrendous. It was constantly cutting in and out. "Satellite phone," he said. "I'm in the middle of nowhere, and it's fucking freezing. My balls are about to drop off." I laughed heartedly. "Oh, baby, when are you coming home?" "Tomorrow." "Ah, thank God," I mumbled, closing my eyes. "I miss you." "Oh, my lady," he murmured, his voice breaking up. "I just needed to hear your voice. I've been trying to call for the last 2 days. The lump in my throat reared its ugly head. "I love you," I answered, holding my head in my hands. There was a short pause. "I love you," he finally said. The phone went dead. And that was just the medicine I needed. Smiling, I flopped onto my pillow, radiating, and glanced at the withered scarlet rose laying on my bedside table. I couldn't wait for tomorrow. Chapter 77. I awoke early the next morning, slipped into a nice outfit, and left for Candace's birthday party in LA. I can't say I was all that thrilled about going back to Massey's, simply because I was more than comfortable in my new life. I certainly missed nothing about my old life, that's for sure. I pulled up along Iliff Street amongst the plethora of cars crammed on either side of the road, and through my tinted windows, I glimpsed Ryan, looking greasier than ever, standing with 4 other guys on the driveway, chatting amongst themselves beside the white picket fence. My sleek wheels quickly caught Ryan's attention. He eyed my car with intense curiosity, and I knew he was wondering who the hell was inside. I squeezed in behind Massey's black Lexus, and he hadn't the faintest idea it was me. Ryan was one of those social/network climber type guys. He was always dropping names that he went to this party with that guy or had lunch at that place with this client. And guaranteed, if he hadn't heard of you, or if you weren't on the guest list for the Oscars or the Grammys or anything of that caliber, then you really didn't warrant his attention. Such a cool guy. So when he saw me climb out of my G-Class, his reaction was priceless. I caught his double take, staring me down as I sashayed up toward him with Candace's birthday gift in tow. Bonnie? He muttered, stupefied. Hey, nice ride. Hey, Ryan, I said, smiling behind my chic Tom Ford Anushka shades, hearing a ton of screaming voices in the backyard. You must have a nice boss, he snickered, pointing his finger at my dark beast glinting in the sun. Letting you drive that. The boss and me are down, Ryan. Actually, it's my ride. Your ride, he scoffed disbelievingly, raising his eyebrows, glancing at his man friends. Damn. Can you ask your boss if he needs another employee? You mean an ass kisser, Ryan? Sure, I laughed. Is Massey and the girls out back? Yeah, he mumbled, still staring at me like he'd seen Elvis or something. Go in. I ditched Ryan and walked into the backyard, immediately bombarded with a flood of memories. I glanced at my old digs. Sheesh. It was bittersweet. I quickly spotted Massey. Oh, hey, Bonnie! She came up to me with a small plate of food, giving me a big hug. Oh, hey, Mass, I smiled. I surprised myself by actually being glad to see her. Wow, Bonnie, you look amazing, she cried. My God, you've lost so much weight. Bitch, that's what love does to you. Thanks, I chuckled. How's things? Oh my gosh, so hectic today, she gasped, walking me through the backyard, dodging the crazy kids and other party guests. Candace ran up to me, clutching my legs tightly. Oh, happy birthday, Candace! I knelt down and gave her a kiss and a hug. Violet ran up behind her and hugged me around my neck. Oh, I miss you girls. It was true. I did miss those little girls. I spent over 10 hours a day, 5 days a week with those little ankle biters. I feel emotions begin to scratch at my heart, tears welling up in my eyes. Not because I was sad or anything, but because I could never have predicted how my life was going to change so drastically. I thought I'd be at Massey's forever and could never look beyond my life more than a week in advance. Life works in many mysterious ways. Chapter 78. I spent the next 2 hours watching Massey running around the garden like a mad woman. Nothing's changed. I remembered the mornings of her thumping up and down the floorboards. Ugh, I cringed. As the party went on, I could feel myself expiring. The kids, the screaming, the music, the parents, the packaged food from Ralph's. Ugh. My newly acquired preciousness was making me over the party very quickly. Suddenly, my purse buzzed. I anxiously pulled out my gold iPhone. Marcos. Oh, thank God. My eyes lit up excitedly reading his text. Are you in LA? I smiled eagerly as my fingers danced across the screen. Yes, Papi, at the party. Another text from him came through. Can I get a ride with you back home? My heart spazzed out wildly. You flew into LA? Another text. Yes, my lady. Where are you? Do you mind if I crash the party? I could barely tap the letters quick enough. I was elated. 1153 Iliff Street, Palisades. My ex-boss will die. She's a fan. The screen lit up. See you soon. I made a beeline straight for Massey, who was dealing with a piñata. Hey, Mass. Just wanted to know if it's okay that Marcus came by? I asked. He's just flown in from Alaska and wants me to drive him home to Montecito. You mean your boss? She stammered, furrowing her brows. Yeah, I nodded with a smile. Marcos Almeida? Yeah, I laughed. She threw her hands to her forehead. Oh my gosh, she gasped, automatically becoming anxious. Don't worry, I assured her, putting a hand on her shoulder. He is so cool, so laid back, believe me. She clutched her chest. When's he coming? Probably in a half an hour. Okay, she nodded, inhaling deeply. Massey thumped off across the lawn, and I couldn't help but laugh. This destined encounter with Marcus had revved her anxiety up a few notches. She walked around the backyard, picking up trash, straightening the party tables, and getting rid of half-eaten plates of food. 20 minutes later, my phone went off again. I'm coming up Iliff. Massey caught me glancing down at my phone. He's here? She hissed, coming over to me. He's coming up the street now. I nodded. I turned on my heel. I'll be back in a few minutes. I couldn't blame Massey. I, too, was more than anxious, walking out through the side gate to meet him. I missed my lover. Ryan and his man group, meanwhile, were still hanging out along the fence like a flock of lazy afternoon birds. Walking straight past them, I noticed two blackened out Lincoln SUVs roll up and stop at the driveway. The back door of the first SUV opened, and that flawless creature stepped out of the car. I could feel my spine dissolve between my legs, admiring his finesse, watching him button his black suit jacket. That swept back hair, the olive skin kissed by the afternoon sun, the lips, and of course those dark eyes. Too much. Oh, so too much, Marcos Almeida. The doors of the second SUV opened, and three scary-looking guys, built like the Berlin Wall, climbed out, immediately surveying the street. Dark glasses, navy suits, no smiles. These guys weren't effing around. Marcos walked up beside me, and we exchanged a long glance. I was desperate to jump into his arms. Assistant mode, Bonnie. You are the assistant. Hello, I said quietly, staring into those devastatingly endless eyes. My lady, he spoke gently, flashing me those gorgeous dimples. I'm dying right now, I gasped, feeling all eyes on me. All I want to do is eat you. I know how you feel, he said, glancing over my shoulder at Ryan and Co., whom, by the way, were paralyzed, clearly shocked by Marcus's impromptu big fuck you arrival. After slightly recovering from his mild case of starstruck, Ryan put his paper cup on the fence and forced his clumsy feet forward in our direction. Hi, he said, awkwardly thrusting his arm out. I'm Ryan Tamerson. Marcos Almeida. Marcus shook his hand firmly. Pleasure to meet you, Ryan smiled. I'm Massey's partner. His eyes anxiously searched through the gate. She's around here, somewhere. Suddenly, Massey came through the gate and clunked down the drive toward us. I could hear her heart thumping in her chest a mile away. I bet that petite little body of hers was melting like chocolate. Marcos, this is my old boss Massey, I grinned, noticing her flush red cheeks. Bitch was burning. Hello, Marcos, she gushed, her smiley face peering up at him. Marcus took her hand and kissed it, swiping her with those evocative eyes of his. Pleasure to meet you, Massey. Bitch was swooning. Oh my gosh. She clutched her chest, glancing at Ryan, laughing nervously. Such a gentleman. Was I looking at Massey's face or a beetroot? I couldn't tell the difference anymore. All of us walked into the party, with various people quickly exchanging bewildered glances. Is it him or isn't it? Everyone knew who Marcus Almeida was. They just couldn't believe he was at Candace's 6th birthday party. I could tell Marcus was ready to go home as soon as he entered. He didn't want the fuss nor to make a scene. Are you hungry? I asked him quietly. Only if you're on the menu, he murmured, looking at the faces of the party guests who were trying to appear normal, but they were looking anything but. I'll just say goodbye to Candace and Violet. While Marcus and Ryan made small talk with Massey's father, I went and said my goodbyes to Candace and Violet. I glanced at Massey, squeezing her hand. Thank you for inviting me, Massey, I said, embracing her. It was great to see you again. Oh, come back any time, she grinned. And you're more than welcome to bring Marcus with you. Both she and Ryan walked us out to the gate, watching as we passed Marcus's less than subtle security detail, lurking around the street, and made our way straight to my car.